My name is Fangs, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make Japanese rice balls.
Stop it, just stop.
So now I'm just going to be rinsing the rice and just making sure all the dust and dirt comes out of the rice before I put it into the pot and boil it. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding in some garlic, and we're also going to be adding in some onion. So this is only half an onion, to be precise. And then we must wait until this cooks out for a bit. Because you want everything to crispy together, and you want it to caramelize everything. So it's always good to caramelize your onions and your garlic before you start adding your other garnishes together. Now this is not the traditional Japanese rice ball, but I'm going to do an almost vegan style of it, with only adding vegetables. Alright, so I slowly turned it down just to keep it so it doesn't burn, but you can see how it started to caramelize and it started to become a bit clear. Now this is what the consistency on what you want when before you add your stuff. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add a bit of celery. Well, we're going to add everything, all the celery. I'm going to let the celery cook with it for a bit. Alright. Now we're going to add some carrot. Alright, so now we're going to start adding a bit of scallion into it. And this is just one shred of it, so it's not like a bunch of them, it's just a shred. Now it's starting to really bring out the flavor with the celery mixture and the onion. You can really smell it, so at least you know it's coming out pretty good. Actually, this is kind of making me hungry right now just doing this. Alright, so now we just add some tomato just to give it a bit of a sweetness so it's not as bitter. But actually, we're going to do a little bit of a twist to this. We're actually going to start to add a bit of soya into this. And then we're going to add a bit of brown sugar to get a bit of a teriyaki texture. So once we have this sweetness, we have our almost substitute for the meat that we would normally have for this type of meal. Okay, so now we're going to start to add our soya. So just add a bit at first. We do want it to change a bit in color, and we want it to give that extra flavor of goodness. So soya does get things dark and everything, so make sure you add a good amount of it. But not too much, because you don't want it to over salt, because soya is pretty salty already. So that's why we're adding the brown sugar into the mixture, so it doesn't take away the sweetness of the tomatoes in a sense. So now we're going to start to add a bit of brown sugar, at least a tablespoon of it. So then we can get rid of that bitter soya. The brown sugar will add a bit of sweetness and better caramelize everything, so you have this better taste in your mouth when you have the rice ball. Okay, so now what we're going to basically do is we're going to form the rice into a ball form before we add our filling. So what I did first was I added it like saran wrap, and I wrapped it all around my bowl and on the inside too. So when the walls form up with the rice, we can easily just fold it over and then form it into a ball. So what we're going to start to do now is we're going to start to add the rice. Honestly speaking, I didn't think it was going to turn out this well. You know, first time for everything. Sometimes your first times come out good, sometimes they don't. I think I did actually a pretty good job. So what you're going to want to do is continue putting out this wall. The wall is what's going to give you the almost outer shell of your ball. I'm not sure how many times I said that. Alright, so now we have the wall formed and we have the base formed. So now we should be ready to start to add a bit of our filling. Now it's all nice, caramelized, perfect into its own perfection. We're going to probably just add 3 scoops, maybe, would be enough. Maybe just a little bit more. I'm a little bit hungry today. And then what we're also going to do is we're also going to start to add just a bit of rice on top. There we go. We don't want it to burst at the top. So now we're just going to slowly form this into a ball. And I'm hoping that this will all form perfectly into a ball. You're just basically forming in your hand. You have a lot of salt in your hand kind of scrubbed together, and then you're forming the ball like so. I already did that with one of them, but now I'm just kind of making sure if I can actually do the technique or not. Just trying to form the ball with the veggies on the inside, and it's a bit of a messy job because I'm not an expert, but it's kind of escaped, but it's kind of still in there. So right now we have our own ball. Although we have only 2 balls formed right now, which is still a good start, we're going to just start to fry these 2 and then see what happens from there. So right now, I'm going to take these really big dogs, I'm going to move it carefully, let it fry. Look at all that nice sizzling. See? I didn't even know it was going to turn out this good, but you know, I'm proud of myself. You know, we're going to let it all brown on all the areas, but you know, the sizzle is good. It's not falling apart into the pot, so you know, we know that we did it, you know. It's good. It's good. Like, I did it for the first time. I'm happy with myself. Hey, this is gonna go on YouTube. So with this small pear, I actually started to use my hands, and I actually salted my hands. I don't know if I actually showed that in video, but I salted my hands, and I did this by hand instead of doing it by plastic. The plastic ones are still forming, so we'll do those. We'll fry those in a couple minutes or so. But first, we're gonna make sure we get these all nice fried up. Alright, so this one actually formed pretty beautifully. This is the first big one I made. So we're going to add this in with the smaller one, so we at least have 3 going. So now we're just adding the last bit, just to add a bit of, you know, extraness, because this is actually still pretty good. But we're going to leave the rest of it in case I want to make a couple more balls.